On the night the moon refused to rise, a baby girl was born in the kingdom of Ajuran. The midwife screamed when she saw it, not the child, for the child was beautiful with eyes as bright as cowries and skin that glowed like new bronze, but the shadows. For when the torchlight flickered on the wall, the baby did not cast one shadow like every mortal. She cast 7. 7 long, dark, shifting shadows that moved even when the torch stood still. The villagers whispered it was a curse, a bad omen. Some said the gods had sent the child as punishment, others claimed she was a messenger of the underworld. Her father, a poor farmer, wanted her thrown into the river at once, but her mother clutched the baby to her chest and swore no harm would touch her. They named her Ifueko, the one who brings light. But there was no light in Ifueko's childhood. Children ran from her, dogs barked and refused to come near. Elders warned her mother to keep her indoors, but Ifueko grew, and with each passing year, her shadows grew darker, stronger, more alive. By the time she was 10, her 7 shadows could move independently, fetching things before she touched them, following strangers, even wrestling goats to the ground. The palace heard of the cursed girl. King Adekonal, who ruled Ajuran with iron and pride, summoned her. When Ifueko stood before him in the great hall, her 7 shadows stretched across the marble floor like black serpents. The courtiers gasped, some knelt in fear. The king stared long at her, then smiled in a way that chilled the heart. This girl, he said, is a weapon. He kept Ifueko in the palace, raising her not as a daughter, but as a tool. The shadows obeyed no one but her, and under the king's command, she used them. They fought in battles, strangled his enemies, silenced dissenting chiefs. Soon, the kingdom of Ajuran became feared, not for its warriors, but for the girl with 7 shadows. But Ifueko's heart was troubled. Each time her shadows killed, she felt weaker, paler, emptier, as though pieces of her life were being swallowed. She begged the king to release her, to let her live as a woman, not a curse. But the king laughed. Your life is mine, girl. Without me, your people would have cast you into the river. Serve me, or you will be nothing. Years passed. Ajuran grew wealthy and powerful, conquering neighbors. Yet behind the palace walls, Ifueko's loneliness deepened. She had no friends, no lover, no peace. She only had her 7 shadows, who whispered to her at night, voices only she could hear. They told her things. Dark things. They told her the king's secrets. They told her the kingdom's fate. And one night, they told her a prophecy. The one who owns you will die by you. And the kingdom that enslaves you will fall by your hand. At first, she tried to resist. She prayed at the shrine, bathed in herbs, begged the gods for deliverance. But the shadows grew bolder. They began to act without her command, choking servants in their sleep, creeping into locked rooms, setting fire to the storehouses. The palace grew restless. The king began to fear the very weapon he had nurtured. So he plotted. He ordered his guards to poison her food. But the shadows whispered, and Ifueko poured the poison soup on the floor, watching as her shadows licked it up without harm. The king tried to have her strangled in her sleep, but when the assassin entered, he was found in the morning with his throat twisted and his own shadow missing from his feet. The kingdom began to murmur. Famine struck. The river dried for 7 moons. Crops failed. The people wailed that the gods were angry at the girl with 7 shadows. They gathered at the palace gates, demanding her sacrifice. The king, desperate to save his throne, called a great gathering. Drummers beat the ojin, masquerades danced, and the whole kingdom assembled in the square. Ifueko was dragged out, her wrist bound with iron chains. She was to be executed, offered to the river to cleanse Ajuran. As the executioner raised his blade, Ifueko's eyes turned black as midnight. For the first time, she did not resist her shadows. She embraced them. All 7 rose around her, towering like giants, stretching across the square. The sky darkened though the sun was high. Birds fell silent. The crowd screamed and fled. Father, she cried, though her parents were long dead. I am no curse. I am no blessing. I am wrath. The shadows descended. They swallowed the executioner, the chiefs, the guards. They wrapped around the king himself, who begged for mercy. Ifueko, my daughter, my treasure, forgive me. But her voice was not hers anymore. It was 7 voices at once, echoing like thunder. You called me weapon. Now I am destruction. With a scream that split the heavens, the shadows tore the palace down. Walls crumbled, pillars shattered, flames erupted from nowhere. By dawn, nothing remained of the great kingdom of Ajuran, only ruins, ashes, and whispers carried by the wind. Some say Ifueko vanished into the forest, her 7 shadows forever wandering. Others say she was taken by the gods, condemned to roam the earth as a spirit. But in every village around Ajuran's ruins, mothers warn their children, do not mock the outcast. Do not despise the cursed. For even shadows, when multiplied, can destroy a kingdom. The end.